A future of handouts. Everyone becomes a too big to fail entity. Where do they get the tax dollars from? Bum. All right, so our next block here, and then we're going to bring in special guest T. Snyder. Next block has something Scott just mentioned. Ex Machina, right? God from the machine. I want you guys to see not the trailer for Ex Machina. It's been long enough. There's a spoiler in here probably. It's a recap. Give you like the here's the narrative arc that they're putting out there. Because while I do have hope for technology and AI and large language models to be used for freedom, that's only going to happen in a decentralized model. And to get decentralized models, you have to build them yourself. To build them yourself, you need to learn how to make your offer to the market. Otherwise, you have to be using the centralized free stuff all the time where you're the product. So let's learn enough so that we can outgrow that status quo. And we start by going to Ex Machina. And then we're going to robot plumbers, robot armies, and our imminent AI future. The thumbnail says, then they kill all the people. We're not going to hear the whole 50-minute speech, but I want you to hear this because I think it's like a Times piece. So it's like a piece of official propaganda that's being put out there. And it's usually done by the people causing the same problem that they're describing, the horrific catastrophe from. So anyway, we're going to check this out, and then we're going to be able to switch topic, and we'll go to other pieces of the news after we cover this technocracy update.
Movie story here. Today I'm going to explain an American action film called Ex Machina. Ex Machina tells the story of a computer coder, Caleb, who wins the chance to spend a week at the house in the mountains belonging to Nathan, the CEO of the company he works for. Caleb is airlifted into the middle of a reserve owned by Nathan, and is then left to make his way on foot through the woodland to the house. Once he arrives at the house, Caleb is greeted by an automated system that issues him with a key card and lets him enter the property. Caleb is initially left to wander the house confused, but eventually finds Nathan working out. Nathan shows Caleb around and then tells him that the key card will only open certain doors in the facility, before making him sign the mother of all NDAs. Nathan claims that he wants Caleb to treat him as a friend, but their relationship is awkward and tense. Later that day, Nathan introduces Caleb to his experiment and says he wants Caleb to spend the next week performing a live Turing test. The subject is a fully humanoid artificial intelligence called Ava. She has a face, hands and feet of flesh, but the rest of her body is clearly that of a cyborg. That night, Caleb discovers that the TV in his room is actually a CCTV network that allows him to watch Ava in her habitat. There is suddenly a blackout and Caleb goes to find Nathan. He eventually locates him, with Nathan drunk and in a petulant mood. Nathan says that the power cuts happen on a regular basis and that he is looking into it. The next morning Caleb is awoken by Kyoko, a Japanese girl who does not speak or engage with him in any way. He later learns that she does not speak English because it allows Nathan to talk shop and not be concerned about information leaking. Caleb meets with Ava again and she starts to flirt with him. There is a power cut and Ava suddenly warns Caleb not to trust Nathan. We soon learn that it is Ava who has been triggering these blackouts. That evening Nathan is abusive to Kyoko when she spills some wine on Caleb. As Caleb and Ava spend more time together, the two form a bond which peaks with Ava dressing herself in clothes to appear more human to Caleb. He is confused and excited by this, and tells Nathan that he thinks this is a trick, that Ava has been programmed to flirt with him. An enraged Nathan shouts at Caleb and then shows him his lab where Ava was created, explaining to him how her mind operates and that he has been using his own software to map the faces, voices and habits of the world population to build a fully self-evolving brain. One evening Nathan gets extremely drunk and Caleb escorts him to his room. There he sees some cupboards and is able to catch a glimpse of Nathan's observation room. One evening during a shave, Caleb sees CCTV footage of Nathan entering Ava's room and ripping up a drawing she has been creating. Caleb begins to suspect Nathan of being abusive. In a one-on-one, Caleb asks Nathan what he will do with Ava if she fails the test, and he says she will be updated and this will result in her memory being wiped. This is a visibly upsetting prospect for Caleb. Nathan gets very drunk and passes out. Caleb steals Nathan's keycard and enters the observation room. Inside he finds footage on Nathan's computer that shows he has been building various female AIs over a period of time. Caleb goes into Nathan's room and finds Kyoko laying naked on the bed. He opens the cupboards in Nathan's room and finds all the destroyed and deactivated robots hanging up. Kyoko pulls the skin from her face to reveal that she is also an AI. Caleb leaves the room just in time to find Nathan stumbling around drunk. He palms Nathan's key card from the floor and pretends Nathan had dropped it. In his final meeting with Ava, Caleb encourages her to trigger a power cut and he reveals to her his plan to help her escape.
How fast is the AI revolution really happening? When will SKYNET be fully operational? What would machine superintelligence mean for ordinary mortals like us? My guest today is an AI researcher who's written a dramatic forecast suggesting that by 2027, some kind of machine god may be with us, ushering in a weird post-scarcity utopia or threatening to kill us all. So, Daniel Cocatello, Herald of the Apocalypse. Welcome to Interesting Times.
Thanks for that introduction, I suppose, and thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So, Daniel, I read your report pretty quickly, not at AI speed, not at superintelligence speed, when it first came out. And I had about 2 hours of thinking a lot of pretty dark thoughts about the future. And then fortunately, I have a job that requires me to care about tariffs and, who the new pope is. And I have a lot of kids who demand things of me. And so I was able to sort of compartmentalize and set it aside, right? But this is currently your job, right? I would say. You're thinking about this all the time. How does your psyche feel day to day if you have a reasonable expectation that the world is about to change completely in ways that dramatically disfavor the entire human species?
Well, it's very scary and sad.
A future of handouts. Everyone becomes a too big to fail entity. Where do they get the tax dollars from? Where does that come from? Is the AI going to pay taxes? How's their whole system going to work? It's interesting, right?
It's a new concept called "to fail to be big." Yeah,
Who knows, man?
I think if we've already seen this trend of outsourcing our problem solving and our knowledge to these entities, then it's, if you could convert Richard's brain model into an AI model and it cross-reference all that stuff, that's a useful tool, right? You could ask the brain model questions and get it to lay out all these connections. That would be super useful. But if you're using ChatGPT, which is programmed to give you preferable answers and become your friend, right? And essentially be your yes man, that's going to create your own self-affirming bubble imagine everyone in their own self-affirming bubble. So quality of information is going to become paramount, because unless an AI can show you a reference from a book that's real, it's like people are going to drift further and further away from footnotes and references, because they're just going to take certain stuff at face value, like we already kind of do with Google.
Yeah, I heard a story on No Agenda this week where some pretty large publications, I could look up the exact reference, but it was like the Chicago Sun-Times or something like that, posted a summer book list, and everyone knew immediately it was AI generated because several books on the list were by famous authors, but the title of the book was a fictitious book. Didn't even exist. The author never wrote it. So it was obviously AI generated, and the author, the writer of the article is like, yeah, I'm sorry, my bad. So funny.
Many such cases. Do we have Tease in the room?
Tease is in the house.
T. Snyder, welcome back. Grand Theft Worldliness.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back. Delightful conversation as always, footnotes and all.
How's the editing going?
Oh my God, laborious and excruciating, and it's just I'm deconstructing Zionism, a la Ryan Christian talking about it, to
Good.
calibrate that in a way which I can then build into the solution-oriented mindset of conversations had via Union of the Unwanted, which then expands out into a vast array of different characters and insights that they offer. And then I tie the whole thing up with a little plug for Grand Theft World, since I had Scott and LD there. So it's one of those things where it's a lot going on, and I've got the huge amount of scaffolding. I have to do that nuanced stuff of micromanaging emotional notes. I'll give kind of a savage one so that people can understand it. Right now, I'm sifting through different sort of footage of kids getting blown up, and I have to choose how to arrange them in a way in which it isn't too hard on the viewer, but it
Take it.
still represent. What's up?
You can arrange it to a snappy pop song beat that's popular with the people these days.
Trying to avoid that,
Does
but I hear what
Kanye
you
have
mean.
one? No.
Yeah,
All right,
some
another good
recent
one.
Kanye hits. There's some
No.
hits.
Oh
Out there.
God, yeah, no. So the point is like trying to figure out the window of receptivity versus the threshold at which people just disassociate.
What
And
about
it's
Blue
really
Danube?
difficult to manage that.
Blue Danube?
What's up?
Blue Danube. It works for Kubrick.
I don't know what that is. What is it?
was one.
Oh, okay,
Something
okay.
like that.
So just throw in classical music. Yeah. Anyway, it's going well, but you guys know what it is. Really, really hard hitting stuff that can be very difficult to manage and then figure out how to calibrate so that the person who isn't familiar with it can get introduced and not just throw up right away. Yeah.
It's tough to do. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, so you have to consider a wide range of audience and all their varying emotional reactions and all their capacities and coping mechanisms, and but still get your point across without watering it down or like carrying water for some atrocities. You're like, hey, these atrocities are real. I just don't want to overload you with atrocities to the point where you're like, nope, I'm gone.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about what you're trying to edit, weren't there those IDF channels where they were posting all that stuff to dance music already? Like there could be a documentary artifact that you could use in place of having to do what anyway. Maybe.
Oh, dude, it's a really important point. The internal mentality of Zionists in Israel viewing it as basically a party. It's a celebratory thing, as juxtaposed with sanity.
Dancing Israelis are a thing, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly. They're getting their comeback, and now it's like a dubstep remix, and they've got enough confetti a la body parts from the people over the other side of the fence, and that's what we're staring down right now. And so it's one of those things where, like, to kind of give you an example, it's like I've got this shot of a screaming kid who's got a little bit of a cut and blood on his face, but I can't hold it for more than half of a second because at that point it's already too much. But if I have it fading from its very beginning, then it's like, oh, it's fading away. I don't have to worry about that kid. So it's one of those things where it's like you can show them, but you also have to alleviate while you're showing them because the average person is basically just conditioned to be a house pet kitten. Yeah.
Are you editing in DaVinci or Premiere?
I use Adobe Premiere.
You want to share your screen?
I
We can
do.
watch you edit. Yeah, right. We, the nerds who host the show, we're like, we want to see what Tease is editing, but we also understand it might not be appropriate for everyone
Oh no,
out there
like
in the audience to
I
show
edit
off.
I edit on the PC across the room, so I
It's a good
wouldn't be able
excuse.
to.
I'll accept it today. Just like when I asked Kurt to come to the show tonight, he's like, I got to go to the mothership and perform. Like, yeah, that's a good excuse. I'll accept it.
Oh,
I
that's
do
funny
want to
because
see. You should take a screenshot of your timeline though, because it's probably like 50 layers. Like
yeah, it's ridiculous
something
when I
that
do.
some of us, like, semi-pro editors can't even conceive of. Like, gee.
I Yeah, no, I can send you timelines or whatever. I am actually editing Kurt in the doc now. He's on the podcast panel talking to Sam, so that's going to make it in. And it's funny because Sam was wearing a comedy mothership in the thing. So yeah, it's a
Oh, then
small.
I'll wear a Sam Comedy Dojo shirt when you come up here, dude. We could just have it all go around. I'll give you a Peace Revolution shirt for your next person.
Okay, please do. I'll sport it on all the podcasts. No, but that is the thing. I'm going to be doing the Pueblo Freedom Show, so I'm going to be there for that. Kind of
Jeff
like
Medine.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be checking that out and being a part of that. So I'll get that recorded. That's finishing up Charlie's doc. And then I'm going to be going to Philly to hang out with Passio for a week to catch his side of things. And so it's the ongoing evolution of the story that we've all been telling, trying to figure out the maze and the mess we're in. Yeah.
So glad that you're getting to go hang out with Passio, and I'm hoping to see Passio in like 3 weeks at the Pork Fest up in New Hampshire, and then in case I forget later, in case Kurt doesn't show up, or in case I got to tap out, happy birthday to Kurt. Kurt Metzger is a year older, maybe a year wiser. We'll have to see. Maybe he'll come and check in after Mothership, but as far as the next news block we're going to cover, Tease, I have an Israel section since you're already editing Ryan Christian type of stuff. Is that something you're comfortable with chiming in on?
Bro, I'm by no means a professional. I'm the guy who's trying to take what all the professionals are offering and make it digestible. So it's one of those things I can chime in on,
Oh,
but it doesn't mean I'm a
professional.
director of it.
You don't have to be professional. Look, when you don't know what's going on, that puts you in the audience would most identify with you because they're like, I don't know either. And the Tease is asking the questions I need to answer and understand. So
Okay.
that could be a thing. Oh, let's do the Epstein section first, I guess. Let's try that. Have you caught up on any of that news from this week? Do you see Inside the Temple or anything?
No, man, I've been mostly just like staring at a screen. So by all means, blow my mind.
All right. Cool. All right. So what we're gonna do, Colby, is we're not gonna play the whole of any of these videos, but we're just gonna like have a little montage of a couple minutes each, right? Because the stories are Kash Patel and Dan Bongino came out and told everyone what they already knew, that Jeffrey Epstein hung himself, and there's nothing more to see there. So you can imagine after they've been telling their audiences, hey, there's something there. And now they're like, look, believe us, there's nothing going on there. We're not being blackmailed. They didn't suddenly just get something. They didn't threaten our families. We're not suicidal. We're telling you Epstein hung himself, that the cameras just broke and the guys fell asleep. All that stuff is just coincidental. The fact that he's run a big blackmail ring. Nope. The fact that it was 4 feet off the floor and it's nearly impossible. The fact that all this stuff. They're asking us to believe something without coming out with the evidence. If you've seen the file, then show us the file, bro. If the file's so convincing, don't you think you should show it to us? By the way, what about the child trafficking network that was all involved with our Congress? Anything on that? Anything on that lately? Right? So, I think it was Tucker and Sean Ryan who epitomized like what people thought of it by just laughing at it. Like, try again. We don't believe you. And they just lost like a major amount of credibility in the eyes of their own people, let alone the left, who's probably like, dude, Epstein doesn't, he's either alive someplace because, he's at that level where he could just have someone fake his death and get out of there. Right. Foreign government, especially if they wanted to help him but I think he's too dangerous a character to let run around. So I'm pretty sure somebody offed him. Otherwise, you wouldn't. You would. So. Well, Bill Gates is also divorced, and his wife's writing a book about how he hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. So, well, he's dead. So you have to be careful. Bill Gates probably still has to be careful out there. And maybe he should stop worrying about buying up all our farms and poisoning all our food, and start, maybe staying away from the kiddies.
I nominate that Bill Gates should now henceforth be known as B. Giddy.
Be giddy.
Be giddy.
Be giddy. I got to hit enter on that. So now that I gave you the caveats, Colby, we're going to go to Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, repeat Epstein suicide lie. That's Jimmy Dore. Then we got, are they compromised? Talking about the same guys. This is PBD, Alex Jones calling it out. Tucker laughs hysterically at the claim. And then Steven Crowder has a flashback busting the Jeffrey Epstein suicide myth. So Crowder did a whole reenactment using the forensics from the autopsy, allegedly. I don't know. Maybe I didn't look at the stuff myself. So like, I'm not showing you this stuff because I believe it. I'm showing you that this is a snapshot of what the world is being told about these things this week, right? That's how that works. Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come on.